Hello, and welcome back. It's here, 2022, day one. As usual, day one is pretty simple, but I thought that it might be fun to make a video going over this just to kick off the season. As usual with day one, there's a lot of pretty interesting flavor text, but with respect to Eric, we're going to be skipping most of it. Okay, so your input is a list of numbers. And the numbers are separated into groups by these empty lines. And the problem input basically says you want to sum up the numbers in each group and then find the highest sum. Fair enough. So one thing that I'm trying this year is I'm making my font a bit bigger because I noticed that it's hard to read on smaller devices like phones and stuff. So I don't like it as much personally, but yeah, hopefully it's a little more legible. Let me know what you think about the change. So as usual, we're going to use inget to get our problem input. And this type of input where things are separated into groups by empty lines has come up quite a bit in previous years. One thing that I like to do here is I check the length of each line. And where 0 does not equal the length, then I can partition it according to that. So yeah, so we partition all the groups around these empty lines. And then we can say for each, these are still strings, so we have to turn them into numbers. We can do that with for each execute, like so. And then we can add each group. That gives us a flat vector with a bunch of values. And we will call this P. Now for part one, we're just finding the maximum of P, which is fairly simple, 69501. That is indeed the correct answer. Part two says, okay, find the top 3 elves carrying the most calories. How many calories are those elves carrying in total? So rather than finding the highest sum in that vector, we have to find the 3 highest. So this isn't too bad. We basically sort descending our problem input. And then we can take the 3 first elements and then we can add them together to get 202, 346. Now there's a lot of different ways that you could do this. Maybe we can play around a little bit and look at some alternatives. So we have P, we just have max reduce P, that's part one. And we have part two here. Now, we know that actually if we sort things in part one, then we can just take the first element for part one, and that makes part two slightly shorter. So we could sort here, and then this would just be the first element. We probably want to assign this to something like n, and then this would be 3 take n plus reduce, right? The other thing that we could do is we could actually just do a prefix sum or a sum scan in part one. Actually, this should go over here so that it gets assigned to n. And then part two is a simple index into n. So we basically build a sorted array of the input, we do a prefix scan, we take the first element for part one, and then part two is just the third element. So there's a lot of different ways that you can sort of play around here. When I was solving it, I just did max scan because I didn't know what part two was yet, and then did the sorting in part two when it became necessary. But anywho, yeah, that is day one. I'm sure the difficulty will ramp up soon, and I will likely have more videos going over those solutions. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.